Tier 1, the GOAT.
Wife got cheated out of inheritance. We was in a legal dispute. It was a bad time.
If there's one character in the whole Red Dead Redemption series who deserves the GOAT label, it's Arthur Morgan. He's literally the poster boy of RDR2. Like, you can try to argue for John or Dutch all you want, but when you think Red Dead, you don't picture a rancher fixing fences. You picture Arthur, sitting on a horse, looking like he hasn't slept since 1892. Now yeah, Arthur's got flaws. Man's loyalty is so broken it's painful. He'll tell everyone else to leave Dutch's sinking ship, but he's still there polishing the deck while it's underwater. It's basically the cowboy version of staying in a toxic relationship because he'll change, I swear. Spoiler, Dutch never changed. But that's not the only reason why Arthur is the GOAT. He's the only rockstar protagonist who can massacre an entire O'Driscoll camp, then go sit by the river and draw a bunny in his sketchbook, like Bob Ross with tuberculosis. He's got that perfect mix: savage outlaw, soft-hearted uncle, cowboy philosopher. One minute he's cracking jokes about Uncle's liver, the next he's talking about how beautiful the sunset looks over the heartlands. And the cough. That little detail hits harder than Micah's betrayal. You're mid-gunfight, blasting through Pinkertons, and suddenly Arthur hacks up a lung. That's Rockstar basically reminding you, oh yeah, he's screwed, have fun crying later. Arthur Morgan is the GOAT, not because he's perfect, but because he's every contradiction smashed into one man. Funny, brutal, artistic, doomed. He's the outlaw who made us all think, damn, I kinda wanna be a better person now. And that final ride with Unshaken playing, that's not just cowboy cinema, that's therapy. Arthur Morgan, GOAT, no debate. Tier 2, another GOAT. If Arthur is the face of Red Dead, then the next GOAT has to be Charles Smith.
All right, Charles, you take Trelawney back to camp, I'll catch up with you.
He's basically standing right next to Arthur the whole time, low-key carrying half the gang on his back and never asking for credit. Charles is built different. While everyone else in camp is either drunk, delusional, or useless, Charles is out there doing the actual work. Need food? He's hunting. Need backup? He's blasting through O'Driscoll's like he's in God mode. Need someone to stop Dutch's crazy speeches? Charles tries. Politely. Rockstar logic. He's the only outlaw in the entire game who doesn't treat robbing stagecoaches like it's Saturday night bowling. And the man's skill set is ridiculous. He can skin a bear with his bare hands, then cook you a perfect steak, then casually save your life in a gunfight, all before Uncle even wakes up from his afternoon nap. That's why I am saying Charles deserves his own game. He's too good to just be the quiet guy. What makes him GOAT tier isn't just that he's tough, it's that he's the gang's cheat code. He does everything right, never brags, and somehow makes Arthur look sloppy without even trying. He's loyal without being stupid, deadly without being loud, and he's the one guy in camp you actually trust to have your back. Charles Smith is the outlaw equivalent of that one friend who carries the squad in every online match. Doesn't talk trash, doesn't hog the glory, just wins the game for everyone. That's GOAT energy. Another GOAT character is Sadie Adler. Standing shoulder to shoulder with Arthur and Charles. She literally starts the game as a widow, crying in a burned-out cabin, and ends it as a bounty hunter who could probably solo the O'Driscolls without breaking a sweat. Sadie's story is basically rockstar magic. They introduce her as this tragic side character, and then slowly she turns into the most dangerous person in camp. Half the gang is busy whining, drinking, or stabbing each other in the back. Sadie? She's sharpening her knives and asking Arthur when they're hitting the next mission. And the crazy part? She's good. Like, scary good. She goes from zero combat experience to gunning down bandits like she's speedrunning RDR2 on veteran mode. It gets to the point where you're riding into missions with her thinking, yeah, I'll just follow her lead. I'm basically backup now. Sadie also adds that chaotic energy every camp needs. While Arthur's wrestling with morality and Charles is being stoic, Sadie's out here saying, nah, let's kill them all. And honestly, sometimes she's right. I have seen fans keep begging Rockstar on Reddit to give her a full game, and it makes sense. She's the perfect mix: tragic backstory, insane skill, and a personality that makes her stand out in every cutscene. She's not just a fan favorite, she's proof that Rockstar knows how to write a badass female lead without turning her into a cliché. Sadie Adler is GOAT tier because she went from the weakest to the deadliest, and she did it without ever becoming annoying. She's the kind of character where you think, if she joined GTA Online, half the lobby would rage quit. And talking about GOATs, you can't skip Hosea Matthews.
Listen.
Try to stop Dutch getting all of you killed, because I'm about beginning to think...
He's the one guy in the gang who actually acts like an adult, which, in Rockstar logic, basically makes him a mythical creature. While Dutch is out there giving Oscar-worthy speeches about one last score, Hosea is the dude quietly whispering, or we could just stop before the Pinkertons blow us to hell. Hosea is Arthur's father figure, Dutch's babysitter, and the gang's moral accountant all rolled into one. He's quick-witted, classy, and somehow makes being a con man feel like an art form. You'd happily let this guy scam you out of $20 just to hear the story he tells while doing it. And he's funny too. Hosea's got that uncle at Thanksgiving energy, the one cracking jokes, making everyone laugh, and then randomly dropping the deepest life advice you've ever heard. He dreamed of being a comedian, and honestly, half the time he's the only thing keeping the camp from turning into a full-on Shakespearean tragedy. It may be exaggerating for some of you guys, but I think without Hosea, the gang collapses 10 chapters earlier. He's the actual brains of the operation. Dutch might be the leader in name, but Hosea is the one with common sense, strategy, and enough wisdom to keep Arthur from punching Dutch every 5 minutes. That's why his death hits harder than a Micah betrayal, and that's saying something. When Hosea goes, it feels like the last shred of sanity leaves the gang with him. Hosea Matthews is GOAT tier because he's the perfect mix, wise, funny, and the only person in RDR2 who consistently sounds like he graduated high school. In a camp full of hotheads and backstabbers, Hosea was the glue holding it all together, and once he was gone, well, you saw what happened. All right, sliding into the middle tier, we've got John Marston.
What the hell?
Yeah, I know. He's the protagonist of the first game, he's iconic, and technically, he's the guy who closes out RDR2. But as much as we love John, he's not the clean-cut GOAT some fans make him out to be. He's more like that friend who's cool as hell, but constantly makes dumb decisions you have to clean up. John's whole arc is great. Tragic backstory, outlaw life, trying to get out of Dutch's mess, raising Jack, the whole deal. And the bromance with Arthur, beautiful. They're basically the same person in different fonts, except Arthur's the responsible version, and John's the one who keeps running headfirst into disaster yelling, "I got this." And that's the thing. John is reckless. He's brave, sure, but half the time it feels like Arthur's playing babysitter. Arthur's dragging John out of trouble, patching him up, telling him to go home to his family. And John, he's back the next mission like, "So, I robbed another train." Dude's allergic to learning lessons. By the time you hit the epilogue and step into John's boots, it's cool to see him finally grow. You feel the weight of everything Arthur taught him. He's harder, wiser, and you finally buy him as the guy who'll carry the first game. But it took so much chaos to get him there. So yeah, John Marston is a legend, no doubt. But he's middle tier because he spends half of RDR2 proving he's not ready, and the other half finally becoming the man Arthur always wanted him to be. He's iconic, but let's be real. You'd never trust him to plan a heist without Arthur double-checking the map. Middle tier character 2. Dutch is also the middle tier king.
We're big score, we got enough money to leave. All this turmoil has...
And honestly, how could he not be? He's the gang's leader, Arthur's second father, and one of the most charismatic characters Rockstar's ever written. But he's also the guy who single-handedly invented the phrase, "Trust me, one last score." Yeah, Dutch, we heard that in Chapter 2, and we were still hearing it when the credits rolled. The man is smooth. He can sell you a dream, make you believe you're building a better future, and then, boom. Next mission, he's screaming at you, accusing you of betrayal because you walked past his tent too slowly. Dude's paranoia is off the charts. Early on, you can already see the cracks. Dutch isn't losing it in Guarma. He's been unstable from the jump. And here's the thing. Dutch did care. He loved Arthur. He loved John, in his own twisted way. But his love always came second to his ego. Micah didn't corrupt Dutch. He just gave him the confirmation bias he was already craving. Dutch manipulated everyone in camp, gaslighting them with speeches about freedom, while secretly steering them all toward ruin. By Chapter 6, he's not the wise leader anymore. He's a full-blown cult head. The betrayal of Arthur stings because these two had history. Arthur trusted him. And Dutch? He chose his own delusions over the man who'd followed him since childhood. Dutch van der Linde is middle tier because he's iconic, unforgettable, and central to the whole RDR saga. But he's also the reason the entire gang went up in flames. He's brilliant and insane, caring and cruel, inspiring and infuriating, all at once. The face of what could have been. Or, in gamer terms, Dutch is that squad leader who gives a rousing pep talk before the mission, then runs off in the wrong direction and gets everyone killed. Middle tier character 3. Next up in the middle tier, we've got Susan Grimshaw. The camp's self-appointed sheriff, judge, and mom rolled into one. If Arthur is the outlaw poet, and Charles is the silent MVP, then Grimshaw is the voice you hear every time you walk back into camp covered in mud. Arthur Morgan, dunk your head in that barrel right now. And honestly, she kept that camp alive. Pearson cooked the food, but Susan made sure people actually bathed, ate, and didn't stab each other over poker games. Without her, half the gang would have literally rotted in their own filth. Rockstar logic. The toughest, coldest outlaw in the game isn't Micah. It's a lady with a bucket of laundry and a shotgun. Grimshaw wasn't just the camp mom. She was ruthless. The Molly O'Shea scene? Cold-blooded. 1 second she's shouting, the next, bang, no hesitation. And then she had the guts to point a gun at Micah later, like she'd finally had enough of his crap. She wasn't scared of anyone, not even Dutch. So yeah, Susan Grimshaw is middle tier. She was essential, the camp's backbone, tough love, and occasional executioner. But she was also bossy, terrifying, and the last person you wanted to bump into after disappearing from camp for 3 days. In gamer terms, Susan was basically the server admin of the Linde camp. Keep the rules, keep the peace, and if you break them, instant ban. Middle tier character 4. Also for the middle tier, we've got Colm O'Driscoll.
What are we doing here, Colm? Is this thing over?
The guy who proves that sometimes it's not quality, it's quantity. His whole gang is basically Walmart brand outlaws. Endless numbers, no personality, and somehow always responding just when you thought you wiped them out. Colm himself? He's Dutch's evil twin. If Dutch had zero charm, no loyalty, and smelled like he bathed once a year. These two used to be partners before Dutch killed Colm's brother. And Colm hit back by murdering Dutch's lover, Annabelle. That set off the most petty, blood-soaked feud in the West. For decades, they've been like toxic exes who just won't move on. And Colm is ruthless, no doubt. He treats his men like cannon fodder, doesn't care if they live or die, and runs his gang on pure fear. When Colm talks nice, it's like the sun is shining. When he's mad, it's like the devil himself. Translation? This dude is the boss you never wanted. Zero respect, all threats. But here's the thing. Colm talks a big game, but when the noose is around his neck, total coward. The same guy who killed, burned, and terrorized countless people is suddenly begging, crying, and plotting his escape like a rat. And Rockstar made sure his end was poetic. Hanged in front of Sadie Adler, the very woman whose life his gang destroyed. Watching her stare him down as he drops? Chef's kiss. So yeah, Colm O'Driscoll belongs in middle tier. He's a solid villain, brutal, cynical, nasty enough to make the story feel personal. But at the end of the day, he's not iconic like Dutch or Arthur. He's the guy you hate fight for hours, and when he's finally gone, you don't shed a tear. Colm's legacy? He's the outlaw equivalent of that boss in a video game who's hard because of his army of minions, not because he's actually tough. Trash tier character 1. If Trash tier had a mascot, it would be Micah Bell.
Always full of sunshine, ain't you? Old Misery Guts Morgan.
What you want, Micah?
This dude is the reason Rockstar put a mute button in online lobbies. He's loud, he's greasy, and he's the kind of guy who brags about killing 3 O'Driscolls, when you know he shot one in the foot and Arthur did the rest. Micah is trash tier because everything about him screams, don't trust me. The mustache? Rat vibes. The outfits? Discount dollar store cowboy. The attitude? Like if Trevor Phillips and a raccoon got fused together in a Walmart parking lot. And yet somehow Dutch listens to him like he's the second coming of Hosea. No, Dutch, he's just the second coming of headache. Every mission with Micah feels like babysitting your drunk friend, who insists he can fight everyone in the bar. He's reckless, loud, and always the reason Pinkertons show up. Arthur's coughing his lungs out, Charles is carrying the squad, and Sadie's mowing down enemies like a pro. Meanwhile, Micah's just over there yelling, "Come on, coward," and getting shot at first. And don't even start with the, maybe he didn't snitch theory. That man was born snitching. If someone dropped a cookie in camp, Micah would run to Dutch screaming, "Arthur stole it." He's a tattletale wrapped in a mustache. By the time you finally blow him away on Mount Hagen, it doesn't feel like beating a final boss. It feels like taking out the trash on a hot day. Necessary, satisfying, and you're just glad the smell is gone. Micah Bell isn't just trash tier. He's the reason trash tier exists. He's the DLC you pray Rockstar never makes. He's the camp's moldy potato, the human disease Arthur didn't cough up, and the one outlaw who somehow managed to unite the entire fanbase. Not in love, but in hate. Trash tier character 2. Agent Andrew Milton.
Visitors. A solution. Good day, fine people.
On paper, he's supposed to be the lawful good guy, the one cleaning up the West and putting down outlaws. In practice, he's just a Pinkerton with the moral compass of a moldy potato. This man doesn't stop crime. He commits it with paperwork. From the jump, you know he's trash. His first big scene? Gloating about torturing Arthur's friend to death with that fake aw shucks tone, like he's reading a bedtime story. He also brags about wiping out Native Americans, calls them savages, drops a racist boy at Lenny, then tries to play it off like he's just doing his job. Bro, your job is literally being the West's customer service rep for genocide. Even his lines sound like they were ripped out of a bad movie. Enjoy your fishing, kid, while you can. Who says that to a 4-year-old? That's not lawman energy. That's Wile E. Coyote with a badge. If Arthur hadn't coughed up blood and Sadie hadn't stepped in, Milton would have gone full Saturday morning cartoon and tied someone to train tracks. Milton is trashed here because Rockstar didn't even try to make him sympathetic. He's not complex. He's not conflicted. He's just straight up evil with a smirk. The man murders prisoners, threatens children, and brags about it like he's in an audition for Most Punchable Face 1899. When Sadie and Arthur finally take him out, chef's kiss. Not a boss fight, not a shocking twist, just the outlaw equivalent of slamming the lid on a trash can that's been stinking up the whole street. Agent Milton, proof that sometimes the law is just as rotten as the outlaws it chases. Trash with a badge.